Good day. The racing game genre is something I've never had that much interest in. Now, I really do love the F-Zero series, mainly because it makes the racing game genre, you know, fun. Now, I know all you racing game fans out there can be like, General Lotz, how dare you say the racing game genre is boring? I mean, you get a car and you can drive it really fast around a track. And you can drive it around really fast. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's just so little to a racing game to actually make it fun, for me at least. Now, the F-Zero series does it differently. It actually gives you, some futuristic cars and tracks that really sort of engage you and actually have, variety to them other than just a bloody oval with some trees around. Now, the F-Zero series' first appearance was amazing. It was basically, for me anyway, the seminal racing game on the SNES. And then Nintendo released F-Zero X on the N64, and that became, to me anyway, the seminal racing game on that system. Now, for me, I've always been a big N64 fan. When there was the Sony PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, and the N64 all competing against each other, I was a Nintendo man through and through. Why? Because the N64 usually had really, really good games. Far superior, in my mind at least, to just about anything on any other system. They had the graphics, they had the sound, sort of. They had, just tight gameplay that just could not be seen anywhere else. And F-Zero X is an example of one of those great N64 games. Now, one of the other reasons why it really stands out from the pack of other racing games is the fact that it has aged tremendously well. I say this because back in the day, I never played F-Zero X. And it was only until about maybe 4 years ago when I picked up the cart that I actually realized just what I had missed. F-Zero X was quite simply amazing and is fun to play even by today's standards. So now, let's take a look at it.
In F-Zero, you have several different game modes. You have the basic racing, you have two-player, which F-Zero 1 didn't even have. You have time trials, you've got the death race, which we'll get to later on. And really, you have more options now than you ever had before. Because in the first one, all you could do is literally have just, your choice of tracks, and that was it. It was just one type of gameplay, racing. Now, the basic racing for the game is more or less identical to the first game. Now, of course, we have made the jump to 3D, and so the tracks are a lot more detailed and intricate, and do a lot more crazy stuff. Once again, let's think about other racing titles other than F-Zero. Like Gran Turismo, the greatest racing game, bloody, you're still in a bloody car driving around in a bloody circle. And this, look at this, look at what I'm doing, I'm driving up a bloody pipe, it's amazing! Now, graphics for the game are somewhat, how shall we put it, basic. But this is not really a bad thing. Really, the cars still look pretty good, and they don't need to have the greatest of graphics, because let's face it, gameplay is actually a bit more important than graphics. You could have the greatest looking car ever and have a frame rate of like, 10 FPS. Here we've got 60 fucking frames per second. And it really makes the game that much more fun and fast-paced. Really, this game seems even faster than F-Zero 1 was. And you really have to have very good reflexes to actually finish a race in first place. Also, in this game, there are a shit ton of more racers. In the first game, there was like 4. Now you've got 30. And sure, there's a bunch of different cars you can choose from, but I'm sticking with the Blue Falcon. Why? Because, well, look at what the ye old captain can do.
So basically, Captain Falcon punched a guy so hard you could see it from outside of the galaxy. So yeah, I think F-Zero is just a little bit better because how many racers in Gran Turismo can punch somebody hard enough to make it seen outside the galaxy? None, I would think.
Really, this game requires you to use a lot more boosts than the first game did. And that, of course, drains your energy, which, of course, means you're more susceptible to blowing up. Really, the racing in this game is every bit as good as F-Zero 1's, and seems a little bit more responsive, as you now have, a few more dimensions that you can move in other than just the two-dimensional plane. Sound design for the game is really good, all the cars sound like they should, and the music is just as superb as in the first game, with a lot of the tracks actually having remixes of the original F-Zero music. Now, all the other game modes are about like you would expect, and are pretty self-explanatory. Now, the Death Race is an interesting game mode. Essentially, in that particular mode, your main objective is killing all the other bloody racers, because that's a cool way to race, I guess? Anyway, you do this by ramming into them, or using special moves like a side dash move that can knock racers off the track, or a spin move. The only problem is I find these moves rather difficult to pull off. Mainly, you have to be focusing on actually driving the car, and you drive so fast that you have to have really good reflexes to actually pull off the moves and not crash. For me, that proved to be somewhat problematic because, well, my reflexes aren't the greatest, and, well, trying to review this in a timely manner means I can't really focus on practicing all the moves. Now, if I'd played this back in the day, I might be really good at knocking racers all over the place, but really all I did is end up throwing myself into a bloody chasm, which meant I didn't finish the race and that didn't end well.
And that is F-Zero X. An example of a great N64 game that has stood the test of time. Do I recommend it? Well, I have a feeling you guys can probably guess that I do. And so, this is General Lotz wishing you good F-Zero X. Probably again. And F-Zero GX, which we'll definitely get to when I can get my GameCube and the game and, find a way to record it. But until then, this is General Lotz, signing off.